Another important part of the DVD Halle situation I want to talk about is the oversheltering of black girls. A lot of black girls are taught from a very early age to keep their head in a book and simply ignore their desires and cravings for intimacy and companionship. This may sound good on paper, but it is extremely detrimental. These desires just do not disappear because somebody said so. These girls end up blindly trying to find partners, trying to explore dating, and they have no idea what the fuck they are doing or who they are equally yoked to and who deserves their time. The black community has tried to shelter our girls to try to protect them, but this silence has only created more problems and issues within our community. I can attest as a 24-year-old black girl that I have never had a conversation with my family about period, sex, a man, standards, expectations for myself and for a man courting me, courting period, literally nothing. I have had to figure it out my own self through experiences. And of course, along with some of the women on this lovely app. And I do want to add that the media knows the black community is dropping the ball in helping their children, their girls, navigate dating. The media knows this and tries to fill in the gaps of teaching our girls and teaching our children what standards they should have, what they should look for in a partner, and glamorizing struggle love on top of being with unequally yoked partners. This does not stop with your regular black girls. It travels throughout the tax brackets and even our superstars that should be in rooms where they can easily obtain and access equally yoked individuals. They are repelling them. But again, they are trying to replicate and glamorize the nurse, successful, suburban good girl with a hood nigga aesthetic. This is where guidance, mentorship, coaching, whatever the fuck you want to call it, needs to be had so you can redirect these women to be with people that complement them. Halle should have never been with DDG to begin with. She was never equally yoked with this man. Her presence and her just talking to him brought her value down as a woman. I don't care. I said what I said. Your village, your elders, your mentors, your coaches, they can help you find a better partner for you than you can, especially after you have been programmed to believe the best you can get is struggle love. We have to talk to each other. We have to help each other, not only to tell each other to leave certain people alone, but introducing our girls to good suitors.
Hey, ladies. Okay, so I wanted to come briefly touch on this latest situation with DVD, DDL, whatever, and Halle Bailey. I saw the latest trending news regarding those two and Halle coming out saying that he's been putting his hands on her and how she's got the restraining order against him. And honestly, didn't really see a point of making a video on it because I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse at this point. Since making this channel 7 months ago, I've done a total of 4 different videos about them and their drama, and I was a little tired of it. But then I came across that initial clip on TikTok, and I did think after watching it that it was at least worth sharing and relating to Halle and DVD's relationship dynamic because it definitely is a prime example of how the overly sheltered black girl to baby mama to a dusty pipeline manifests itself and how it happens way too often in the Black community, where you will have these really young Black girls, especially ones growing up in super religious Christian households, and how they're essentially raised to be prey by the time they're old enough to date, just because of how heavily sheltered they are from youth. And now, just to be clear, the perspective that I'm going to be touching on is going to be from like a Black American woman's perspective. I know over sheltering can and does occur in other cultures, but specifically as it relates to young Black American girls, like this is like a known thing in our culture, where you will have parents that purposely keep their daughters in the dark about boys and smecks and dating and even normal bodily functions that occur through puberty, like periods and whatnot. For example, I remember my mom, who is technically a part of like the boomer generation, she told me how her own mother never told her about her menstrual cycle or puberty. So when she first got her period, like 11 years old, in school, she freaked out, went to the nurse. She thought she was dying, which in retrospect, it's funny now, but at the time, it was like a very embarrassing and humiliating experience for my mother. So she made it a point for me when I was coming up to tell me everything. Before I even got my period, she told me everything I was going to need to know about menstrual cycles, puberty, pads, all of it, just so that I would be prepared, right? And that kind of preparation, that kind of guidance is still missing, I feel, from a lot of households where young Black girls are growing up and they're not understanding how their bodies work, how boys work. They're not understanding how to navigate the world and how to vet men in relationships. Like they're not even prepped for what that's going to look like when they get to the point where they're ready for that. And how eventually boys grow into men and, they're not informed on the true nature of them and how they can prey on young, unsuspecting girls. And instead, what they do is they overly shelter young Black girls, by telling them, oh, just focus on your studies, keep your head down, don't be too fast, don't wear anything too tight or too short, without even telling them why, right? Not even explaining the why, just telling them don't do this. And like the woman said in the initial clip, this mindset isn't limited to one specific socioeconomic level. Like this level of sheltering can and does occur at all income levels in the Black community. And, for the girl in the hood, it would look like them being told to heavily downplay their appearance, right? So if you're curvy, you're going to be told to wear baggier clothes so you attract less attention when coming home alone, right? And the overly sheltered girl in the Black community, the overly sheltered young Black girl, is told that she can't date. She can't have a boyfriend in high school. She can't wear any makeup. You can't dye your hair. A lot of times you may even be told that you're not allowed to sleep over with your friends. Like, I cannot tell you all how many times I've encountered a girl, into adulthood now, who didn't get to have experience like normal social bonding with other girls, with even other guys, or even experience those like first date experiences in their teenage years, and were well into their 20s, maybe sometimes even their early 30s, and they have never been on a date, right? Because they were never even taught what dating looked like or what it was supposed to look like. They may have already had smacks at that point, but they had still didn't even know what it was like to experience going on a date. And that's not a good thing, y'all. So as you can imagine, growing up in that kind of sheltered environment can often result in a very naive mindset and what I would describe as like a very socially stunted individual. And it's so many young Black women that are raised that way. And I've noted particularly it happens a lot with ones that came from two-parent households like Halle. And the parents will think that they're doing the right thing, they're protecting their daughters, when in reality, they're doing them a disservice by making them a vulnerable mark for someone to take advantage of them in the future. Because manipulative, low vibrational, parasitic males love love using gullible young girls who had sheltered childhoods. Like, that's their go-to, because they're the easiest ones to trick and manipulate and get over on, because they're much slower to catch on to red flags, considering the fact that they were never taught how to even look for red flags. Their parents didn't teach them, their mothers didn't teach them how to look out for them. These are the types of individuals that you'll see in Shira's comment section, like a Shira7 saying, "Oh, Shira saved my life. My mother never taught me anything. My mother never taught me how to dress, how to take care of myself, how to look after myself, what to look out for in men, what kind of men to go for." Those are the types of individuals that I'm talking about when I'm saying like super sheltered, not informed on anything as it relates to navigating relationships or even just general social interactions with guys. Like, they were not taught how to flirt, how to know when someone is flirting with you, how to ask for what it is that you want, how to clearly state when you don't want something, how to say no and have that be a final answer. They just were not taught those simple nuances of navigating those relationships with men and young boys. These are young girls that are sent out into the world totally green, zero guidance. And those Halle type of girls that came up in like showbiz or just heavily shielded from the outside world, they become easy picking for grifters like a DVD, especially when you compare Halle to the kind of women that he was used to dealing with prior, like a Ruby Rose. And yes, Ruby had also grown up in a middle class upbringing, but she was not green, right? She came into the industry as a video model when she was in her late teens and was dating rappers as a teen. So by the time she got with DDG, she had already had several industry boyfriends. She knew well enough not to take him serious. Meanwhile, Halle fell for him. She fell for his game despite all the warnings from her fans, and she ended up getting baby mamaed by this fool. Cheated on during her pregnancy, and now she's dealing with the fallout of their separation, having to issue restraining orders because of the DV allegations and his unhinged behavior and the constant harassment from his fans online. I mean, I just cannot help but wonder if she had been given better guidance earlier on and given more exposure to different social circles and just advised on how she's better off seeking someone that she's actually properly yoked with, and what that would even look like to be with someone that is on par with her as far as like career goals and status, maybe she would not have ended up with him had she been given that proper guidance and instruction. Because I remember seeing an interview with her and her sister, and this was years ago, and Chloe was saying that it was actually Halle who, quote unquote, liked the bad boys and the thug types. And she had to clarify it because people at that time were assuming she was the wild one and that Halle was the more innocent one. But why is that? That kind of desire for an unpredictable, reckless type, that doesn't come out of nowhere. And now her rebellious streak has got her, like, look where it's gotten her. She picked the wrong man to be her child's father and basically stuck with him for life. And her story, Halle's story, in my opinion, is a cautionary tale for the overly sheltered young Black girl. Like, this is how you can end up when you're not properly taught how to navigate dating and relationships as a young woman. And that's not to say, that's not to say that people should be loose with their daughters and let them do whatever they want, but it has to be balanced. It's possible to protect your daughters from danger without keeping them completely in the dark about how men operate, what their true intentions are, how to vet them, what are the red flags to look out for, what are the green flags. And the whole point is, though, is just to offer them some form of guidance so you're not sending them into the world blindly. Otherwise, they're going to find out for themselves the hard way through a lot of mistakes that they're going to make as a young adult that are totally preventable. And y'all, I don't care what nobody says, and I know this is going to be controversial and many people may not agree, but I know Halle loves her son, but I bet if she could go back and make another choice, another father for her child, I believe she would in a heartbeat. But Y'all, that's all I have to say on this topic. And I'm probably not going to be speaking on this couple ever again. I don't think, I don't really want to. I just really wanted to touch on the whole shelter black girl thing because I witnessed this so much growing up and just with friends, like just seeing how it ends up playing out. And we see it with Halle, we see it with Kiki. I feel like Kiki Palmer is also an example of that as well. But I wish Halle all the best. And until next time, I'll see you all soon.